Hi guys, Heaney again. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I'd like to say straight away, and as always, you are first and foremost a spiritual being. Okay, that is what you are first and foremost. Okay, I would like to share with you some more absolute truths about your life and your experience. And this is about Big Pharma and their main agenda and the way they operate. Okay? So, most people would think that the big pharmaceutical companies are in it for one reason, and that is making a very large amount of money. Multi-billion-dollar companies and corporations making vast sums of money selling a wide variety of medications and drugs. And of course, you'd be correct in thinking that yes, it's for profit, but that is their second reason. Their first reason is to satisfy an agenda that's quite insidious and, of course, is run by the Illuminati, who are controlled by Satan. So, again, like many other things going on the planet and agendas, this is one of Satan's plans and ploys that he's put in place. Okay? Everything he does is to divert you from the Bible, Jesus, and God, and every agenda he has developed is put in place to push you further and further away from this information. Okay, so Big Pharma. I will explain to you what I went through over 30 years at the hands of Big Pharma. Now, when I was 19, I was having a selection of different experiences mentally. I was seeing things, hearing things, sensing things, and of course, this led me to visit the doctors, who then referred me to a psychiatric doctor. So I take myself off, excuse me, to the local or the nearest mental institution for a consultation. Now, at this point, I enter and I'm full of a lot of information. I'm a bit scared because it's a bit unnerving. But the psychiatrists were really nice, very pleasant, sat across from me, face to face, smiling, made me feel at ease, and of course then asked me to recount and tell them the things that I'd been experiencing and that were causing me distress and difficulty. And they were causing me distress and difficulty because I didn't understand them. And I was having difficulty living day to day, enduring these various scenarios. So I told them as much as I could in as much detail as I could about the things I saw, the things I thought, the things I could do, all mentally, and indeed in elaborate detail. This session lasted about 2 hours, and they took on board all information. There was often two psychiatrists there. It was very nice and relaxed, and I felt a bit lighter and unburdened. The first time they prescribed me one tablet for social anxiety, and off I went on my way. Of course, this tablet was effective for 2 to 3 weeks before my brain smashed through the firewall, and yet again the same experiences happened. Sensations, visions, auditory sounds, all sorts of things. So, of course, in 6 months' time, I would be called back for a review, and I would say that, yeah, it worked for a short time, but a few weeks into taking this medication, everything was back to the way it was. So they then upped the prescription to double the amount. And this process took place for 4 years, which is 8 consultations. And within that 4 years, what they do is they extract all the information that they can get from you in regard to your experiences, your thoughts and feelings, but most importantly, your abilities that are mental in origin and nature, okay? And your abilities are things that aren't normally achievable with the 5 senses, okay? Now, everybody has these abilities. You have these abilities. I have these abilities. Every single person on the planet has these abilities in differing ways, differing styles, but everybody will have one extra mental sense, like a sixth sense, that is quite natural to them. So after 4 years, they've extracted all this information from you, and they will make diagnoses and provide you with labels. In my case, it was 2. I was labelled as bipolar and schizophrenic. And they managed to work that out after only 8 sessions with me, so that's 16 hours, and they worked out bipolar and schizophrenic, which in itself is quite a skill, I would say. Out of all the variety of mental health issues that are bandied around that you could be suffering from, in 8 sessions to come to that conclusion is quite remarkable. As is their ability to know which particular medications to put you on and in what combination. Now, the 5th year, it was apparent that there had been a change in agenda. Now, the first 4 years, very relaxed, very pleasant, and I was more than happy to offload and share. But the 5th year, there was a change where the psychiatrist was rather standoffish. There was an obvious lack of interest, compassion, empathy, a different style altogether. The sessions were 45 minutes only, and they quick-fired questions about the same topics as they'd previously asked. So they were repeating the same questions, and of course I was then repeating the same answers. What I soon discovered was that this change in delivery was not in my mind, it was by design. The 4 years had been set up to extract all the information about you as far as extrasensory abilities and mental abilities go. All that information was taken out so they knew what they had to do, what the job was. And the job with Big Pharma and the psychiatry doctors and the system in general is to, if somebody exhibits different abilities and skills, they have to drug them and block it out, cover it over, get rid of it, because it is not in line with the narrative, the agenda, and it has to be blocked out. So that's what the drugs are for. However, throughout the years, I would be prescribed a variety of different drugs, all very potent. Each 6-monthly review I would go to, I would either get an increase in an existing medication or a new one put on top. So over the years, my intake of medications became greater and wider, and more and more. This I can zip right through till the end of the 30-year period. Every 6 months I had an increase in an existing medication, or an extra one added, or something taken away and a stronger one put in its place, to try and stop me doing what I was doing mentally with my mind. As time went on, it became quite apparent that there was a sub-agenda in their questioning, as they would often, or not often, every time, they would ask me the question, are you suicidal? And have you put any plans or preparations into place with regard to carrying out your suicide? And of course, they want you to, and these are all things I can tell you now, but I worked out after the fact. But they want you to say, yes, I'm suicidal. Yes, I have put plans and preparations into place. And of course, that then seals your fate, as they will quickly and swiftly, for your own good and your own benefit and your own health and care, have to stay with them at their facility for 24/7 psychiatric treatment for your best health interests. And this would be without a time scale, because it would be permanent. That's what, at 30 years of repeating this, that is what they wanted to do. And they tried in various forms to get me to agree to this, which I simply would not do. I did answer them each time and say, yes, on the one hand, I want to die, but also, at the same time and in the same space, I also want to live. So where does that put me mentally? Why am I thinking that duality? And each and every one of them, so that was over 26 years and a selection of psychiatrists and many psychiatrists, I asked this question to each time, and none of them could even proffer an answer. Indeed, they all ignored it and went on to something else. The height of insulting and leaving me again with questions unanswered. Of course, as the years had gone on latterly, I spent more time analysing them than they did me. And of course, every time they asked the question regarding suicide, there was a change and a hint of excitement, as they thought they were going to be the one who would crack me, and they would then continue with their drugging agenda with me as an inmate. That was the goal, but they never achieved that. So their end game for me, because I would continually break through the drug blocking chemicals and go back to doing what I was doing for 30 years mentally, which I now understand to be a mixture of spiritual experience, a variety of abilities during sleep hours, lucid dreaming, prophetic dreaming, remote viewing, and significantly for me, and I love doing it, being a critical thinker. So my critical thoughts would be on the go all the time, and I liked to use this skill to find out the truth. It's become very handy, and now after 44 years of applying it, it has become my sixth sense. So everything I perceive, all the information I get, will be critically thought about from every angle, every way, shape and form, to get to the truth. And I now find this really very easy, and put little effort into seeing what is absolute truth all around me all the time. And of course, once you peel back one lie to reveal the absolute truth, another one starts to poke up. And again, they're easy to spot. And once you get into a habit of finding out the absolute truth, it becomes easy. And they start to show themselves all over the place. And their end game for me, because I would continually be doing this. And it's something that the Illuminati do not want you to be able to do. They do not want any of us to have access or knowledge of our latent mental abilities, which are vast. And as I said, you all have them. Every single person has one. Every single person has one that they will excel in. Okay? You will have one that you excel in, you just don't know what it is. You might have an inkling, you might have experienced some stuff, you might have intuition, you might have, a friend of mine is prophetic, I tell her so, and she laughs, but she knows things often before their time. She is prophetic and that is her skill. So you all have them, every single one of you, whether you believe it or not, you do have it somewhere. But living within the three-dimensional matrix that you do, it can be difficult to get them out, okay? Because of the various agendas that are put in place as psychological blocks. That's done on purpose, by agenda, by Satan's design, and indeed these mental abilities that we all possess are the greatest danger to the Illuminati, because once we develop our own abilities, our mental abilities, our natural God-given capabilities and specialties, we also have the potential, once everybody has reached a particular level, potential to link together mentally. We can do that as a species. It's called the collective consciousness, and it is very achievable. It's easy for us to link to each other. It's just something that we have never been told about. It's never been explained to us. And that is where we hold all the power. And that is why the Illuminati, and by Satan's command, want you to have no knowledge of these abilities and gifts. Okay? But I'm telling you, you've got them. So if you want to try and find out which one you've got, open your mind. Open your mind to absolute truth. And what I'm going to do, and what I have been doing with each upload, is trying to give as much information from as many different perspectives as I can to get a hook, which is to facilitate you to understand just one thing that I say and go, okay, yeah, I get that. I understand what he means. With that comment or that statement or that absolute truth, I understand it. And from then on, build and say, okay, if I understand that, well, maybe everything else he's saying is indeed absolute truth. I fully understand and take on board that the information I reveal that is absolute truth can be difficult to take on board, because you have lived your life within a construct of lies. Everything about your life and environment and knowledge and learning and understanding, your personal abilities and what you are and where you are, has all been fabricated around you. It's all been a series of agendas, lies, deceptions, manipulations, brainwashing, so on and so on and so on, as I've detailed in other uploads. So you've been immersed in this all your life. It's not your fault ever, but now is the time to maybe for the first time in your life say, wait a minute, I understand some of what he's saying, and I know that some of you will understand implicitly what I'm saying. And that applies to 30% of you who have mental abilities that are open. You're aware of them, they are gifts. You also are people who do not absorb lies from television, the best brainwashing tool of the bunch. And indeed, you probably all have a foothold in some sort of spiritual practice or habits or belief already. So that's 30% of you have one foot in already. You just have to step in with the other foot, fully immerse yourself in absolute truth. And for the rest of you, the 70%, and I do call you tough nuts to crack, because the potency of the matrix of lies is a difficult, sticky trap to get out of, but you can get out of it. I've helped people online who have been in that percentage get out of it, so it is possible. So it's not game over, not at all. But indeed, you have to take a leap of faith. That is what is required, is a leap of faith. I've often been asked for proof and facts of the things I discuss regarding spirituality, God and Jesus. And I try to inform people that spirituality is not like that. I cannot provide evidence, proof, show them anything that will be understood within a three-dimensional matrix, because spirituality is based around belief of the invisible. And for me, it's far beyond belief, because I've experienced so much in the realms of spirituality, different dimensions and experiences my whole life. So I've been immersed in it. For me, it's very easy and obvious. But I understand the difficulty. I truly do. But I invite you to take a leap of faith and just dive in and go, okay, I can understand some of what he's saying. I'll give it a shot. Okay? And that's all I can hope to achieve. And I'll never stop uploading from as many different angles as I possibly can to try and help you facilitate this change and remove yourself from a matrix of lies to a world of absolute truth. It really is simply an exchange of information. An exchange of information from living in lies to absolute truth. Now, I understand that within society, truth is something that is oftentimes unwelcome. If a lady says, "How do I look in this dress?" and you answer, "You look quite fat," it doesn't go down well. So, of course, you lie. People lie. It's easier. They find it's going to be socially acceptable if they do not tell the truth. So everything is geared towards lying and not telling the truth, and it's blamed on being nice, mannerable. You don't want to hurt somebody's feelings and so on. But truth often comes with the F-bomb, the fear bomb. The fear bomb sent by Satan, his favourite weapon and tool of choice, to scare you. But don't be scared. Put that F-bomb to one side, okay? Put it to one side and understand that absolute truth cannot be debated. Absolute truth is absolute truth. And as I said in my first upload, that I will only deal in absolute truth. And unless I've had a good session of critically thinking and analysing all the facts and figures and data, I'm not going to say anything that isn't totally and utterly true. Okay? So we'll pop back to the Big Pharma and the drugging. So that's 30 years done. I, as a critical thinker, had never once given any thought to the amount of pills I was taking, or indeed the length of time I was taking them for. That was due to a demon attachment who had one job: to stop me thinking of that one thought, which it did effectively for 30 years. I never gave it the slightest bit of thought about what I was potentially doing to my body and the danger I was in. I just got drugged, got increased drugs and new drugs and extra drugs each time I went to the mental institution, And this continued for the full 30 years, culminating in my last prescribed drug, which is called tramadol, which is a strong narcotic painkiller that they were prescribing for what they had told me were two mental health disorders. Now, tramadol is a strong opiate-based narcotic that works on the physicality. So there was no requirement for prescribing that to me for something they said was of a mental health nature. Of course, this was in no way, shape or form there to help me. It was to finish the job. They could not cover up my abilities and the knowledge I was continually revealing. They could not get me to say I was going to commit suicide. They could not answer my question of duality. And of course, they just thought, we'll finish the job and we will kill him. So that's what they did. They prescribed so much drugs that I did come home one day, sit in my bed and die with an unintended prescription drug overdose. That I mentioned in previous uploads, so I won't go over it again. So they were successful in doing so. They managed to kill me with their pharmaceuticals, their drugs, their regimes, because they had run out of options for me to stop me doing what I can do, because they want to eradicate anybody with any extra abilities, and usually the drugs work. If their psychiatry was based around anything to do with my health or well-being, they would have included several alternatives, including acupuncture, reflexology, Reiki, herbal remedies, hypnotherapy, crystals, whatever. Had it been about my health, they would have included a selection of these things. But no, it is one agenda: drug it out of them so they cannot function their own individual mental abilities, because this is what endangers the collective of the Illuminati the most. Us becoming aware of our abilities, then becoming aware of our inherent individual spiritual beings that are the core of who and what we are. And that is what we are. Nobody can dispute the fact that as a human being, you are born, you live, and you die. And most people will say, yeah, well, and I do believe there is more to come, but they just don't understand what. But that is why I am here. That is why I chose to do this. I chose to do this in heaven. It was all planned out carefully. And indeed, the duality of my question that I proffered to the psychiatry doctors, these apparent learned doctors who know a great deal about the brain and how it functions, that's completely false, because they don't know much about the brain. They have little understanding of the medications and drugs they prescribe, or indeed how they will interact with each other in an individual's body. They have no knowledge whatsoever. They poise themselves in a position of great self-importance when they interact with you. They actually sit on a chair that is elevated above your level. So they are in a position where they're looking down at you. So they are condescending and they're looking down. You feel subservient and they feel superior. And that's done by design as well, to try and break you down further. Another psychological technique that when I noticed, I discounted it, and they failed with that also, because these things to me were really quite obvious at this point in time. But they will just drug you. That's all they have to do. They also get financial incentives to promote particular topical new drugs. So 2-3 years ago it was citalopram was the antidepressant of choice. Now it's sertraline. There are financial incentives. if they prescribe X amount of patients with a particular drug, there'll be a financial incentive involved. So they will be getting paid for prescribing a particular drug of choice that the big pharma want to push and promote forward. So this has happened for a long period of time, and their drugs are getting more and more insidious and addictive. So 22 tablets later, I die. They have success. They have killed me. But as my previous uploads will tell you, I was saved by God, Jesus, and my guardian angel, Raziel. So they had failed again. Now, at that point, I stopped taking all 22 tablets. For the week, I stayed in my bed during my spiritual awakening, and then for a further fortnight thereafter, I took nothing. Now, that was very dangerous, and something I would say to you now, and I will say this as a warning. If you are in a similar position, taking a large cocktail of pharmaceutical drugs for supposed mental health difficulties, do not stop, okay? Because stopping, the amount that I was on, could have killed me straight away from shock. So it was very, very ill thought out, but I just had enough. I stopped them all, but I soon realised after 3 weeks I had extreme withdrawal symptoms where I was rummaging about the bed, trying to pull my hair out. I had a lucid moment where I just managed to grab my bag of drugs, grab some out of any packets and crunch them up to get some sort of effect in my system, which stopped me doing what I was doing, but the effects were so severe. And I've done all the illicit drugs on the planet, and nothing is as addictive and has such a severe effect as withdrawal from pharmaceutical drugs. They are that bad, that addictive, that bad for you. They will destroy you. If they don't cover up what they want covered up, they will just prescribe you until death. That is, again, part of the agenda. And again, if they cannot get you committed. So they've got all the little tricks and techniques once you go into that system. So what I'd reinforce at this point is that if you have been diagnosed with a mental health disorder, there's a high chance that you are actually mentally gifted the same way as everybody is, and you just have access to your abilities. You just don't know what they are, how to operate them as such, and have never had any insight into the fact that the things you're experiencing for you are natural, and they shouldn't be viewed with the F-bomb, the fear bomb. They should be embraced and understood. And the more you embrace and understand your individual mental abilities and capabilities and skills, the sooner you'll understand what your individual sixth sense will be, and everyone has one. And it's great to find out which one it is. You know, you've all got them. Every single person has a sixth sense. And again, this information they don't want people to know, because we can then link together. What is the most dangerous thing for the Illuminati is when we, the people, band together as one human race. The 99% say, we've had enough. We are not letting 1% of corrupted criminals rule us anymore. And now we have extra knowledge and absolute truth that you have kept for yourself over centuries and centuries and centuries. However, they are up against the clock. The sands of time have been turned. And of course, they are now, for the first time ever, in a bit of a panic. It's not just me revealing absolute truth. People are doing this all over the world. Brothers and sisters, spiritual beings, different countries, different ages, different ways, different places, are all revealing the same stuff at the same time, to get as big a hit on humanity as we possibly can, to guide, to, show people the way home through Jesus Christ, as accepting him as your Lord, King and Saviour, to get back home to heaven, because that's where you came from and that's where you want to be. There's only two places you're going to go. You know you're going to die. This is not a lesson in morbidity. Let's be miserable and die. Well, you're going to die. Or should I say your physical body, your shell and your computer will no longer function. So we call that death. But we have no death. We are immortal beings. We are spiritual beings. We are immortal. We do not die. You leave this shell when you ascend to the top of your head, and off you go, hopefully having made the correct choice, homeward bound to heaven. And the instructions are in my first upload as to what to do exactly. It's no big deal. You ditch your sins, you stick to it, you accept Jesus, and you just wait for the time that he comes back. That's all you have to do. It's so straightforward. It's two places you're going to go when you leave here, when you leave your very, very short physical life, is to heaven or hell, one or the other. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. What you're offered in heaven by God, what Jesus did for you on the cross to pay for all your sins, and for me that's a hefty amount of sins he's paid for, because I've done everything to very large extents. So, how can I ever say thank you? Well, all I can do is ditch my sins and stick to it, and understand that that's what's required. You've got to have a bit of a cleansing before you go home. It's no big deal compared to what you're going to gain. And if you don't make the choice to go back to heaven, you're going to go to hell. And I don't want to see anybody go to hell. Neither does God. He doesn't want to see anybody go to hell. But again, full circle has taken place. The Garden of Eden, where Eve was tricked by Satan into eating the forbidden fruit, was down to her choice. She made a choice to do that. And the ball started rolling, and God knew it would end up here. But he wouldn't intervene. He created us, his favourite creation, with freedom of choice. And he just let the ball roll, because we all have freedom of choice. We always have had freedom of choice. So it's up to yourself. If you say, okay, I'm going to take this guy's information and apply it as absolute truth, and follow the simple instructions and go back to heaven for eternity. And it's not just a short holiday, eternity. Think about how long that is, people. Forever and ever and ever. And indeed, the opportunities that lay before you are limitless. The beauty is beyond words, and all you will experience are emotions from love. Nothing negative can exist in heaven. It's all beautiful. And that's where you want to go, trust me, because the alternative hell is, again, for eternity, and just a whole world of pain in every single possible way. And again, people have said to me, Heaney, I'd rather go to hell. And I'm like, okay, that's a very bold statement to make. But if that's your choice, that's your choice. I can do nothing about that. I can only try and convince you otherwise, and implore you, and provide you with as much variety of information as I can to try and facilitate a change in your cognitive structure, a change in your understanding of the true nature of things. And the true nature of things doesn't have to be scary. It's just a change of information, that's all it is. But it does seem big and bold and overwhelming. I understand that. I totally get that. I get how you could feel overwhelmed by discovering that everything you have held dear is a lie, a fake, a forgery, and has been put in place by Satan as an agenda to manipulate you into living your life at a base level at a very low negative vibration, having no attachment to your spiritual core, having no attachment to God, Jesus, or understanding of the Bible, and indeed to veer you away from heaven and condemn yourself to an eternity of hell with him. That's what he wants to do. That's his main concern. He has nothing but complete contempt for human beings, as we are God's favourite. He is so embittered, he will do anything he can. He will not be happy unless he has every soul. But I will not allow that. I will not allow Satan to take every soul. I'll do everything I possibly can to change people's minds, to make them understand an alternate perspective of reality. And although it is a big leap of faith, it is one that once you jump in and dive in, you're going to naturally take on board the information I'm giving you and understand that, yeah, this is absolute truth. Absolute truth cannot be denied, and you can feel it in your core. It'll resonate with your spiritual self. You'll feel things, you'll see things, and the more things that I reveal to you as absolute truth, that you then go out and look at yourself with your own eyes, your own perception. If you go out and check it out yourself, there's a high chance you're going to go, I can see that. I can actually see that. I can see something that is indeed nothing but a lie, a manipulation, an agenda, a play. And Satan is lazy and sloppy with his agendas. He never cleans up after himself, so he'll just layer one on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. It's so messy now that you peel one back and something else will reveal itself. Certainly to me, with my abilities, and the way I use them, the way I have accepted them, the way I have denounced the labels of bipolar and schizophrenia as hokum, and indeed embraced my latent skills and abilities and utilised them for the highest good of all, which I love doing, and embraced them. And that's what I encourage you to do as well, to go out and find yourself, find your true spiritual self, find your, and it'll all come together, find your abilities, your mental, supernatural abilities, and play with them, play around with them. What I will be doing in a few uploads time, once I've done a little bit more research, a couple of things to find out, but I'm going to teach you, one, how to switch your brain on to activate it 100% of its potential. The 10% functionality of your brain is a lie. Your brain can work 100% functionality. And also, what else is there? 100% functionality. Oh, yes. And I can train you to implement things into your brain or remove them at will with an easy to follow guide. But as I say, I need a little bit more time to get this sorted out, a couple of things to iron out. You'll be able to switch your brain on to maximum and then implement things in and out at will. And it's very easy to do. And the thing I'll be teaching you to do is to remove all negative thought programs from your brain. All Satan's horrible fear, doubt, shame, guilt, depression, anxiety, and worry and panic and paranoia. I will teach you how to remove all those things from your brain so you will only resonate with emotional states that come from love. None of that other stuff will bother you. How liberating it is, how cleansed you will feel, and how nearer to your spiritual core and your abilities you will get. Your vibration will increase, your frequency will increase, and this is going to shove you much, much further to embracing absolute truth and taking it on board and following my advice and doing the very simple 4 steps to come back home with me to heaven, because that's where you belong, that's where you came from. We all decided to come here at this point in history, and indeed at this point in history we were made very well aware of the danger of becoming trapped in the matrix. We were all warned this was a dangerous experience to undertake, but we all took it on board because we love God and Jesus. We wanted to be here in Revelation 13. And if you want to do anything, go get a Bible, start reading it, or indeed just read between Revelation 13 and 22. That's where we are now, 13 to the end, 22. Just have a quick skim through that and you'll know what's going to happen. And I know that's a sort of mind-bending thing. There is a book where we are living in the last couple of pages, and you can read right until the end to see what happens, but by all means, please do so. I've read Revelation 4 times and fixated on Revelation 13, and many times I've said to people over my life, and looking back in hindsight, how fabulous it would be to be here at the end of the Bible, because I wasn't here at the start. And of course, I was narrating something that would turn out to be absolute truth. There were signs and symbols all throughout my life that I've collected now and made sense of, which are fabulous for me. Little personal goals. That's why that was said. That's why that happened. That's why I experienced that, and so on and so on and so on. It's made so much sense to me now, looking back at the fact that I had, with others, engineered my entire life what I needed to do, what I needed to experience, the various things I had to tackle, which a lot of them are very dark, very bleak places to go, but I had to tackle them all to give me the abilities, information, lack of fear, and fundamental skills to take on board all this knowledge with ease. And without the F-bomb, without the fear bomb kicking in, take it all on board, process it, and deliver it to you guys in as easy to understand the way as I possibly can. And I'm never going to stop. I don't know how many uploads I'll do. I don't know how much time is left as we turn the last pages of the Bible. Is it 6 months? Is it 7 years? I don't know. But it's not going to be long. All in all, get good with Jesus. Ditch your sins. Make your preparation. And get ready to rock, because you're going to have a blast. When you leave this body, it is awesome. I've done that several times. Left my body and it feels like bliss. What a weight to get off, because it's heavy and your head is heavy, the flesh is heavy, and it's, oh, what a lump, dragging that around for however many years old you are. It's such a relief to get it off. As soon as you take it off, you will instantly remember everything about heaven, about why you came here, where you've been, how many places you've been to. I've been here twice on Earth. I'm doing exactly the same thing. The last time I was here was about 1,000 years ago, and I was doing exactly the same guide, but in a very fire and brimstone way. So I had to change my delivery system. My poor pal Nathan got 45 minutes of fire and brimstone, which certainly shook him. But I understood that I was doing something I'd done before. It was very natural to me, but it was certainly out of context with today's world. So I had to change my delivery. And of course, there comes along the internet and all its fabulous applications. Again, of course, that was old Slithery Guts' mistake. Satan had made a boo-boo, because that's what he does. He thought the internet would further enslave and entrap and hypnotize people to ignore their spiritual self. And in fact, it's done quite the opposite. It's linked people together. People send me banned content. People just send me stuff that's going to be of interest to me. People from all over the world now send me uploads and videos and messages with information and links and stuff to go check out, because I'm now garnering a reputation for revealing absolute truth. And these people who watch my uploads have been so kind and good enough to offer their help and support. Because I do always say, please, if you can help and support me, I would be so very grateful. I'm not very good with technology. And if you could upload this to any other sites across this planet that I don't feature on, I would be overwhelmed. And when I see you in heaven, because I'm saying this positively, because I'm hoping everybody who's listening, at some point, at some download, some beg your pardon, upload of mine is going to go bing. And for me, that is the lights on. If I'm speaking to somebody in the flesh, in this manner, with this information, I will see sometimes, bing, the lights go on in their eyes. And that to me is a most satisfying sign. They have understood what I'm saying. And it may have taken me 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. It's always worth it. Because people are. You're all worth it. You're all worth it for me to do this. That's why I've hung around. And of course, I don't know if I explained my duality that the psychiatrists, the doctors could not give me an answer to. Wanting to go die and also live. Because on the one hand, I wanted to go home to heaven because it's like, oh, I've had enough of this planet. It's just corrupted and Satan's in control. And it's just, a mess. 95% of it's been corrupted by Satan, and I've had enough of it. But at the same time, I wanted to be here to help you guys and facilitate your safe passage home to heaven. So I wanted to do both things at the same time, and I worked that out myself without any psychiatric intervention. So to all the psychiatrists, and I hope some are watching, all you are egotistical, self-righteous, believers in your own abilities, when your abilities do not exist. You do not have the ability or knowledge to discern somebody's categorization as far as a mental health issue goes. You don't have the information or ability to prescribe cocktails of drugs that you know little about, or the interactions and effects thereof. You're following an agenda. You are basically the bottom of the pile when it comes to drug pushers, because that is all you are. You think you're it, you think you're this, you think you're that. You are none of those things. Your skills are lacking. You follow the agenda by design, and you have no abilities to assist people with any situations that they may have mentally. You just slap a label on and get down to drugging. That's all you're capable of doing. So remove your egos and understand that you've been called out. Psychiatry is hokum. It's guesswork at best. And indeed, it's just covering over somebody's natural abilities with chemical compounds, frog marched out of a big pharma lab that have all sorts of destructive ways of bringing a person down, to polluting them, to keeping them sick. And that goes for the physical drugs too. They're just there to keep you sick. You have to continue taking them, so they never work on cause. They can only ever affect a symptom. And of course, roughly, I would say 80% of people now are taking some sort of big pharma medication. That is their agenda all along, to keep your vibrations low, to keep you drugged, to keep you drowsy, to keep you asleep, to stop your abilities working, and they'll do that any way, shape and form they can. That is the absolute truth with regard to Big Pharma, and their main agenda is keeping you dumb, keeping you hooked, and covering up all the magic that you've got, or locking you away, or killing you. It's that straightforward for them. They have no scruples. They will do it any way, shape and form, and they're doing it on a massive, massive scale. And as I said again, I will reinforce, do not stop taking these medications because they are so addictive across the board, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, that they could facilitate your own death. So if you're going to come off them, I've gone from 22 to 4, slowly but surely, carefully, with consideration, one at a time, ditch them. I hope to get rid of the other 4 in time. I've tried to stop the 4 in a 1er, but that's running before I can walk. It's like, okay, Heaney, just pick off one at a time, like you've done thus far, and remove them from your life, because they do nothing. They just poison you. And then again, that's part of Illuminati narrative, is keep them dumb, keep them poisoned, keep them blind, keep them lacking in knowledge, and certainly keep them away from their own magical abilities and the Bible, Jesus and God. That is their, major concern. That's Satan's worldwide concern, is keeping us away from the Bible, Jesus and God. That is his main agenda, and everything else falls into place in a smaller way, but it's all created to put wedges and divisions in between. And again, the shell that we have as a body and the computer we have as a brain, they're used as tools against us to separate and divide us, our colours, our creeds, our ethnicity, our religion. Everything is set up to make us dislike each other, to make us fight against each other. And that is all part of their plan, to keep us separate, when their biggest threat is when we come together as one. When we come together as one, and it's happening now, people. The Great Awakening, the revival, it is happening now. People are beginning to realise that things are changing. They can feel it, they can see it. You might not be able to put your finger on it, but I hope that even one sentence I say throughout my uploads will trigger something in you to begin to make that change, to make that start, to just take on board first and foremost that you're a spiritual being. And that's what you are. You're eternal. And there's 2 destinations. That's it. It's that straightforward. One or the other. And you've got to make a choice. And by not making a choice and saying, I'm not interested in that, I'm away back to watch the telly and have a cup of tea, that's just the same as going to hell. If you don't address this, if you just ignore it. I'm not spiritual, I'm not religious, I don't have to do it. Well, you do have to do it, actually. You do. It's a requirement to get back home. And once you're back home, you'll be like, phew, I'm glad that I listened to Heaney or anybody else you see deliver similar information, similar messages in different ways across the world. However you get this information on board, you get home to heaven, you'll be like, phew, that was close, because I possibly was going to be stuck in the matrix of lies, which is everything. Everything you've ever learned, been taught, been told, been conditioned to do is a lie. Everything. Yeah, and I get it. I truly, truly get it. It's a big old thing to chew on. But once you make that leap of faith and understand that maybe for the first time in your life you've done something that's totally outrageous, out of character, a leap of faith where you've just launched yourself in and, let the current take you because it's felt right. Something's been triggered in you. And you're like going with the flow. If it's the first time you've done it, just do it. Do it now. It's never too late. A woman said to me on social media, I can't believe I've been this blinkered all my life. I've lost 50 years. I said, no, you have not. You've gained eternity. It doesn't matter when you learn this when it goes into your head, as long as it does, it doesn't make any difference what age you are or how much time you have been living in the matrix, living amongst agendas and lies and deceptions and brainwashings and everything else. It makes no difference as long as you make that step out of it. That's all you have to do, is step out of it. As soon as you understand it and take it on board, you can then mentally live out with this sham of a world, this fake environment, this corrupted, satanic world in which we have to live in. You can live out with it. And once you make your peace with Jesus and prepare to go home to heaven, job done. All you have to do is wait. That's all. All you need to do is wait. It's in the bag. You're going home. And you've got so much to look forward to. You've done it. It's so easy. It is so easy, people. Please take that chance. And I will pray for you all, as I always do. I love you all. I thank you so much for watching. I thank you so much for sharing and helping. If you want to jump on board, please do so. And I'll give you a huge hug in heaven and say thank you so much for helping me. You've been part of the cause, because all great causes start small and they snowball. And if you can be part of this cause, it's just going to be awesome. Please jump on board, hop on board. Anybody who wants to, you're all welcome. You're all welcome to be part of this and facilitate this to as many people as possible. It is that important. It really is that important. But I'll stop now. That's been an hour. And again, I thank you for sticking with me, watching More Absolute Truth, understanding about the big pharma and their insidious agenda. And again, if you're stuck in it, you can get out of it slowly but surely. Reevaluate everything they have told you and critically think about exactly what you have been labelled and what you're taking and how much and why and for how long, and analyse all these elements of your own consumption of these medications, and then apply your own magic and see if you actually need them or not, or what you've been experiencing all this time is natural gifts and abilities that they've just been drugging out of you as per Satan's agenda and the fear of the Illuminati for the first time in centuries, because we are beginning to stir, people. Trust me. This movement is beginning to garner peace. It truly is. I feel it. I can feel it growing. I can feel it garnering peace. I just feel it. It's difficult to explain, but I just know that it's going to snowball. So be part of it. Jump on board. Come along for the ride, and come with me home to heaven, and we can chat forever and a day, because I love chatting, as I'm sure you'll have noticed. But I'll let you go now. Thanks again, much love, and I'll have more stuff for you real soon. Okay, take care. I love you. Bye.